get away with a great deal.
Alright, guys, let me know in the chat if you can hear me okay. There always seems to be some kind of issue when I do one of these things, so we always gotta make sure. Okay, cool. You know, one of these days I'm going to figure out why YouTube won't let me schedule these streams in advance. It's so annoying that I have to do them, like, seemingly off the cuff every time. Like, if I could just, like, put up the notice, like, hey, a stream is starting at 9 o'clock tomorrow, like, tomorrow night. It would be so much easier to get people to come to these things, but I gotta put up a notice on the community tab, put up a notice on Twitter. And I always gotta remind people, it won't let me schedule them, I don't know why. Ugh. So annoying. Anyway. First up, before we get started, I just want to thank any of you who are new here, who found me because of the She-Hulk video that went up a few days ago. Got a nice little bump in subs from that one. I think I got like, it was like 200 or something new subs last time I checked. Or I think it was like 197 or something. That was helpful. So thank you to anyone who found me because of that. Thank you to everyone who subscribed. The goal for this year is 45,000. Right now we're about 1,100 and change away from hitting that mark. So, yeah, hopefully we can do it. And it looks like She-Hulk is going to be helpful when it comes to that, so that's good. So thank you to everybody who's new. Thanks for checking out the stream. Anywho, the way this works is I'm going to go through the whole episode, give my thoughts, and then we'll do super chats and comments at the end, and then we'll get out of here. FYI, it's been thunderstorming on and off all day, so if the stream cuts out, it's probably because I lost power. So let's not go too long, because I don't want to risk having to... I don't want to risk getting cut off in the middle of something. Okay, so let's not dilly-dally all that much. So if you got a super chat, get them in, and I'll talk to you guys on the other side of this. Anywho, talking about House of the Dragon. It aired Sunday night? Yeah, Sunday night. Gotta be honest, I wasn't anticipating this that much. Not that I had low expectations, I just didn't care. I watched this thing on Monday because I forgot it was premiering on Sunday. I set the DVR, and then it completely slipped my mind. And then Monday afternoon, I was like, oh, hey, House of the Dragon was last night, wasn't it? Huh. That's literally... That was my reaction. Like, after Game of Thrones went from the highest of highs to finishing with Season 8, I kind of felt like I'd had my fill of this world, and I just wasn't excited about it anymore. Excuse me. At least not as much as I used to be. I mean, these days, my feeling is that if we're not finishing the books, then what are we doing here? I mean, a Game of Thrones prequel, based on that Targaryen history book Martin spent several years writing instead of writing Winds of Winter? Did we really need this? I mean, we kind of know how all this shit ends, don't we? And I highly doubt it's ever going to reach the same heights that Game of Thrones did. Now, aside from HBO wanting to milk more money out of a property that was one of the biggest pop culture phenomenons of all time for a while, I don't really see the point. But I checked it out, and honestly, it was fine. It was okay. I didn't hate it, I didn't love it. HBO spent all the money on it, so it looked super impressive. But it was kind of slow. Nobody aside from Matt Smith made much of an impression. In fact, he was the only character whose name I remembered 5 minutes after it was over. And the whole thing just seemed kind of uneventful. Like, imagine the Game of Thrones pilot, except replace all the characters with less memorable versions played by less memorable actors, and then take out the thing that kickstarts the story with Bran getting shoved out the window. Like, still pretty good stuff, but the secret sauce that left you chomping at the bit for the next episode is gone. Yeah, that was one of the big things for me. There was no, there was no hook, or there was no big twist that reached out and grabbed you by the throat. You know, they're trying to decide who the king's successor will be. They make the choice. The princess is slotted in. Matt Smith isn't happy about it, and that's it. I kept waiting for the big gotcha moment to turn everything on its head, but there wasn't one. Anyway, it starts with a flashback to the prequel. The Targaryen king's health is declining. He's kind of approaching the end of his life, but he's lost both his sons, so he has to choose who will inherit the throne, either his daughter or his oldest male cousin, who's named Viserys. And since the daughter is a girl, the cousin got the nod. There's going to be a lot of stuff like that in there, which was already kind of a thing in Game of Thrones, but it's a lot more pronounced right now. I think it's awkward doing this after Game of Thrones, which had a take on this stuff that was a little less on the nose, but, you know, hopefully that won't affect things too much. Anyway, the real story picks up 9 years into King Viserys' reign as king, which is 172 years before Daenerys. They actually make a point to tell us this. So we meet the princess, more or less the main character. What the hell was her name? Rhaenyra, I think? Anyway, she's riding a dragon in the sky above King's Landing. The CG on this looks freaking incredible. Holy shit. She lands. She talks to her female BFF, mentions that the dragon's getting big enough to seat two, but the friend isn't too keen on dragon riding. I would be shocked if one or both of these girls are not lesbians. The princess goes to see her heavily pregnant mother, the queen, The queen is trying to mentally prepare the princess for when she will have to serve the realm by having a child of her own, but the princess would rather do that, well, would rather serve the realm by going into battle on a dragon or something. But, you know, coming from this actress, I don't buy that for a second. She does not seem like the type. If this was somebody like Arya Stark, that I would believe. This actress doesn't have the same vibe at all. So then the princess goes to a king's council meeting to be the king's cupbearer. I don't know why the princess is doing that. I would think that would be servants' work. But I guess they needed an excuse to put her in the scene and listen to the men debating all this important stuff. So they're expositing about crime in the ports, and a suggestion is made about summoning the king's brother Daemon and putting him in charge of the city watch to deal with this. Then they talk about whether it's wise or fiscally responsible to be holding a tourney before the queen gives birth, but the king wants to go ahead and do that. And he's also quite sure that the baby will be a boy, because he needs a male heir. If a woman ever sat on the Iron Throne, that would just be the end of everything. Well, he did not know how right he was. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Then the princess goes to the throne room and finds her Uncle Daemon sitting on the Iron Throne. That's Matt Smith, of course. He has designs to be the king's heir, reminding us all that the king doesn't have a son yet, and until such time, that would make Daemon the next in line for the throne. He gives her a present, Valyrian steel necklace, and there's a hint that he might want to do what Targaryens are known to do with his cousin, but nothing happens yet. Then we see the princess hanging around with her female BFF, resting her head in the BFF's lap. And so there's definitely something there. I don't know if either of them are acknowledging yet, but there's something there. The BFF is quizzing her on Targaryen history, which the princess already knows but isn't interested in right now. She's conflicted about a lot of things, or so they say she is. Her father wants a son. She hopes he gets a son because he's always wanted one. And she doesn't seem to want the throne for herself, but maybe a little part of her does. But she also wants to just ride around on her dragon and enjoy her life, so she's thinking about a lot of stuff. You wouldn't know it from the actress, though. She's not really giving you much to go on right now. Unfortunately, she's one of the more bland actors in a cast that seems to have a lot of them. So the king is being examined by the maesters. Apparently he cut himself sitting on the Iron Throne, and now there's an infection or something that they can't seem to get rid of, and it's slowly spreading. They decide to cauterize the wound with fire. I'm not sure how they plan to do that when Targaryens don't burn, but they do it off screen, so maybe it doesn't matter. The king talks to the queen. There's a lot of talking here. She reminds him that he can't will this kid into being a boy if it isn't one, but he reiterates that he is quite certain it's a boy. And I guess it better be, because the queen then reminds him that she's had a bunch of bad pregnancies and stillbirths, 5 in 10 years, so this kid is going to be the last one because she can't do this again. Then we cut to Daemon taking command of the Gold Cloaks. He gives a rousing speech about cracking down on crime in this city, and then they roll out into King's Landing, and there's a montage of them beating the shit out of a lot of random people, killing them, maiming them, cutting them to pieces, and taking the body parts away in wheelbarrows. It's kind of horrific, actually, and not in a compelling way. I mean, when Jaime had his hand cut off, that was shocking. Excuse me. When Ramsay cut Theon's junk off, that was horrifying. But the things were very carefully done. You know, there was a story there. You know, attention was paid to character and the ramifications of what came afterward. Not that there isn't here, but this feels like the writers are wielding a cudgel instead of a scalpel. it feels like it was done just for shock value, just because they can, and also to call back to Game of Thrones. Like, hey guys, like remember in Game of Thrones when a dude got his hand cut off? Or when that dude got his junk cut off? Or when that other dude got his head cut off? Well, it's even cooler now when we do it, right? Right? See, we're doing all the same things. Isn't that cool? Not really, no. It doesn't feel special anymore. Feels like you're just doing it because Game of Thrones did it. I mean, it was very obvious what they were doing here. And to do it all in just like a big montage to show how sadistic and brutal Daemon is. I mean, it's all very, yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Like, there's no delicacy here. It's all, yeah, it's like they're wielding it. I don't know. It's like, we used to have a scalpel, and now it's a sledgehammer. You know what I mean? It's like, they're not, like, all the subtlety is gone. Anyway, another council meeting. The King's Hand, Lord Hightower, I think his name is, thinks all this wanton brutality is a bad thing, and Daemon is a loose cannon who needs to be controlled. Daemon has the argument that the violence was necessary to restore order and get crime off the street before the big tourney, because things had kind of gotten out of hand and been allowed to escalate, and crime had been flourishing for too long. Not that we've seen that, we haven't, they just told us about it. The king seems to agree with Daemon, who does not get along with Lord Hightower. They needle each other about their spouses. Daemon has a political marriage with some woman in the Vale that he doesn't care about, and Hightower's own wife passed away recently, and they kind of dig at each other about that, get under each other's skin. There's resentment between them, clearly. And it's already very obvious how much more charismatic Matt Smith is than just about everyone else in the cast. I mean, they really need a Ned Stark, Sean Bean type of character, someone with like some real gravitas to build everything around. Because the princess ain't it. I know that already. And, you know, Daemon has that, but he's the villain, apparently, so that doesn't really work. Like, they're really lacking a strong protagonist. You know, they don't have one, and they need one. And the king isn't cutting it either. You know, it's pretty clear that Daemon is a dog without a leash, and the king does kind of tell him to rein it in a little bit, but he comes off pretty passive, and Daemon seems to respect him only begrudgingly, so I wouldn't expect the king to be able to control this guy that much. So we cut to Daemon. He's at a whorehouse having sex with some girl. I don't think she gets a name this week, but they seem to know each other. He's not really into the sex right now. She offers to placate him with virgins or girls with silver hair, because that's what the Targaryen's kink is, I guess. But he's just not in the mood. He seems really down. She assures him that the king can't replace him, and she gives him a hug, and yeah, they seem to have some kind of relationship or connection. Beats me what it is, but you know, there's something between them that seems sort of genuine, I guess. Cut to the big tourney, where knights come from all over the realm to do knight-type things like jousting and sword fighting and stuff. Huge set piece. There's a lot of CG here, but again, it looks really impressive. I mean, credit to HBO at least. I mean, they broke the bank on this show, obviously, and it shows. The king begins the festivities by telling the crowd that the queen has gone into labor. So, yay. Kind of a dick move that he's here watching the games while his wife is pushing a human being out of her body, especially after that conversation about how many kids they've lost due to bad pregnancies, but I guess when you're the king, you get to make your own rules. So a lot of people joust. I'm not sure how important a lot of this is. It seems like some of this was only there so the writers could be like, hey, remember the Tarleys? Remember the Baratheons? Remember the Dornish? Remember when they were all a thing? Well, they're still a thing. They see that guy's a Tarley, and that guy's a Baratheon, and that guy's from Dorne. And sure, we already had the most charismatic Dornish guy ever in Game of Thrones, and he got killed off, but we've got another guy from Dorne here. See that guy? He's from Dorne. Isn't that interesting? Again, not really. Like none of these people seem to be characters. They're just people from places. And I got sort of confused during all this. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to remember who was who and from where. And there were so many different people to keep track of, and a lot of them were wearing armor, so you couldn't see who they are most of the time. I mean, it looks really nice, but it was missing a lot of context. Daemon chooses the son of Lord Hightower as his first opponent for the joust, just to be a spiteful asshole. The guy gets the better of him on their first joust, so Daemon goes for the low blow and trips up the dude's horse on the second one. It's a dick move, but I guess it's technically allowed, because no one disqualifies him. Maybe because he's the prince, I don't know. Then he asks for the favor of the princess's BFF, who is also Hightower's daughter, which I didn't realize until I rewatched the episode a few hours ago. So extremely dickish of Daemon, and he only gets worse. Then a messenger arrives. A messenger comes in to whisper something in the people's ears up in the king's box, and the king has to leave abruptly because the queen's labor is not going well. And here's where it gets very uncomfortable to watch. I guess the baby is coming out upside down or backwards or something, and the maesters can't seem to correct it. And they start cutting back and forth between this and the tourney, where things are getting very violent, and some of the knights start killing each other in some pretty gruesome ways. I don't really know why. Some mention is made of there having not been a war in a few decades, so the knights are, I guess, are pent up with no outlet for their aggression, something like that. It's kind of vague, and it sort of felt like just an excuse to do an action scene. That's what it came off like to me. But we don't know who any of these people are, so the action doesn't really mean anything. It's like, oh, that guy is, I guess like that a Baratheon guy is beating up on a Tarly. Okay, but so what? We don't care about them. We know who those families are, but we don't know who these people are. It's just one day player beating up on another. It doesn't mean anything. Meanwhile, the birth is going very badly, and the maesters tell the king that he may need to make a difficult decision here to save one or risk both of them. That's how bad this is how bad this has turned, and the king is mortified. But he needs to make the call right now because things are going south fast. So the maesters do basically a C-section on the queen while she's still conscious. It's extremely graphic. The queen is screaming in agony. I'm cringing so much watching this. It is genuinely horrifying and very difficult to watch. And not in a, oh my god, it's like a car accident, but I can't look away fashion either. No, it's genuinely, I wanted to turn away. I had to force myself to watch this. It is really, really uncomfortable. And, so Daemon jousts with another guy. The guy defeats him. Daemon wants to continue in a contest of arms. The guy beats him there too. So Daemon is forced to swallow his ego on that one. And then the guy asks for the princess's favor, and also he's Dornish. I'm not sure if that's relevant, but it's in there for some reason. I think I saw in the trailers for the coming season he's going to come back. So, I don't know, maybe he's going to be a love interest of some kind. Who knows? But he's there, he's Dornish, and he's going to be a thing. Alright. I don't remember if we got a name for this dude. I watched it twice. I still don't know if he has a name. And there's a lot of that going around on this show. And then we cut back, and the Queen is dead. Damn shame, really, because she was one of the more likable people here. And the actress, I like the actress. You know, she probably made the biggest impression after Matt Smith. So this seems like a waste, to be honest. I mean, they could have... I would have preferred she stick around for a while. So she died getting the... She died in the process of getting the baby out. It's a boy. So the king names the baby, and then we cut to the Queen's funeral, which is also the baby's funeral. Damn, the kid did not live very long. I guess the princess is like the master of ceremonies here. I'm sure that's the wrong word for it, but like she's in charge. And Daemon tells her that her dad needs her. She's hesitant because she'll never be the son that her dad wanted. But finally, she pulls herself together and she orders their dragon to do the thing, and it lights the funeral pyre. It's sad. Even Daemon is looking mournful here. I don't really feel anything though. We only knew this woman for half an hour, so I mean it's pretty to look at, but it's like they're trying to mine for emotional pathos that just aren't there yet because we barely spent any time with these people. Another council meeting. Yes, another one. They're talking about the line of succession some decisions do need to be made in that department now that the king is without an official heir. Daemon is technically the next in line, but some people are very uneasy about that because given too much power, Daemon would obviously be a tyrant. Everything we know about him, which admittedly is not much, makes him seem like, a proto version of Joffrey. So, that probably would not be a good idea. The king is defensive about his brother, because that's his family. He knows the guy is ambitious, but doesn't think he has eyes on the crown. Daemon is, of course, secretly listening to all this, unbeknownst to everybody else. But they do need to name someone, and the only other choice would be the princess, who, as a girl, comes with her own set of issues. And a girl can't sit on the Iron Throne because, well, they don't really have a good reason for why that can't be a thing. Because it's never been done before, is what they tell us. Which, and that seems to be the only real argument against it. But it's a big one for some reason. I could have used a lot more context on this. I know it's a medieval themed universe. So I mean, some things are a little bit backwards there when it comes to the male female power dynamics there, and I guess it's typical that men sit on the throne. I still could use a more compelling argument for why a woman can't do that. I mean, just because it's never been done before, okay, why? Why not? So you do it for the first time? What's so wrong about that? I don't know. It just seems like they're trying to ham-fist this situation and didn't really have a more credible way to do it. Just my opinion. So cut to Lord Hightower. His daughter, the princess's BFF, comes to see him, and he encourages his daughter to go comfort the king with in his chambers, with the not-so-subtle implication that if she were to somehow wind up in the king's bed, that might solve a few of the problems they're currently facing. Very classy. They don't say it, but the implication is very clear. So she goes to see the king, tells him she's sorry for his loss, and nothing happens. They just talk, and that's it. We go to a tavern, or possibly the whorehouse again, and all the gold cloaks are enjoying themselves with the ladies, but Damon's pretty down in the dumps until his girl from earlier compels him to make a speech to everybody, and he, again, he's not terribly enthusiastic, but he does toast, and he toasts the king's late son as, quote, the heir for a day, unquote. And when word of that reaches the king's obviously furious, and finally, he's feeling not so passive. I've only ever defended you, I'm your only ally in the court, and you throw that back in my face. This brings Damon's resentment out finally. You only wanted to send me away, you never asked me to be the hand of the king in 10 years. Hightower's a cunt, and you picked him over me. You're weak, the council knows it, and they all prey on you for their own ends. And you do get the feeling that, Damon's been bottling this up for quite a while. And, but, now the king has got the convincing he needs. So, he's made up his mind to send Damon back to that wife that he can't stand, and the king is going to name a new heir. So he summons the princess in this chamber with this, giant dragon skull that's, the size of a boulder. Pretty cool set here. And they talk about dragons, and, people say the Targaryens are closer to gods than men, but they only think that because of the dragons, and, this idea that they can't control the dragons is all an illusion, because dragons are a power man should not have trifled with, and one even brought the doom to Valyria. That's something I'd like to hear more about, actually, the doom to Valyria. I always thought that was like a volcano eruption or something. And, anyway, if the Targaryens don't mind their history, the same thing could happen to them. As, the doom, that could, repeat itself somehow. And a king or queen needs to understand that. So, the shoe drops. He tells the princess that she is going to be his heir. And he kind of apologizes for taking her for granted all these years that he wanted a son when she was always the best of her mother, and he believes that she can be a great queen. Not sure how much he actually means this, and how much of this is him just saying it because she's the only real option. I mean, he's only in this position because the other choice is Daemon, who is very obviously unfit for the crown. But he's saying the right things here, so, good for him. He impresses upon her that the Iron Throne is a lot more dangerous than a dragon saddle, so it's time for her to, kind of get serious and grow up a little bit. Also, there's one more thing. One last thing he tells her. One of their ancestors, Aegon, foresaw the end of the realm of man. Some kind of horrible darkness coming from the north. And when this great winter comes, all of Westeros has to stand against it. And if the world is to survive, a Targaryen must be seated on the Iron Throne. One strong enough to unite the realm against that horrible evil. Aegon called this dream the Song of Ice and Fire. And the princess has to promise to carry this secret and protect it. Okay, so they're tying it into Game of Thrones, but a lot of this feels like they're trying too hard. And when you put it like this, the continuity is kind of messed up, because we already saw that horrible darkness. It was not the end of the realm of man. All of Westeros was not standing against it, but it was still defeated. All while a Targaryen was not seated on the Iron Throne. In fact, a Targaryen had nothing to do with the darkness being defeated. Arya was the one who did that. And afterward, a Targaryen going after the Iron Throne is what almost destroyed everything. So there's some revisionist history going on here, and it doesn't really track with what Game of Thrones did. I don't know why they even added this part, to be honest with you. I mean, to make some connective tissue between the two shows, but why did we need that? We already know this is a Game of Thrones prequel. Were the events of Game of Thrones not relevant enough that we had to do this too? Because this actually feels kind of flimsy, because we know it didn't happen that way. I don't know why they did this. So the princess is sworn in as the king's official heir. Daemon takes off on his dragon back to the Vale, I'm assuming, and that's where it leaves us for now. And I am left with not many strong feelings about this. It was okay. It wasn't bad. But I much prefer the Game of Thrones pilot. Only a couple of the characters felt like they were worth following. Matt Smith, the Queen who died. I don't know, one or two others maybe? The story was slow-paced. It felt like not very much is happening yet. It's all pretty straightforward. There are no real twists and turns here, but it really... I'm going to say this again. It really needed something like Bran falling from the window at the end here. Like some kind of cliffhanger. Some kind of villain or shark in the water. Just something. It's assumed that Daemon is not happy about this turn of events. And, maybe he'll turn against his family. Maybe he'll take revenge on the king in some way. But for now, he's just flying off. So, and the whole thing just seemed kind of uneventful. And it seems to be about setting the stage for an event that we already know doesn't play out the way they're telling us it will. So those wires are crossed. And if this is the precursor to the story that ended in a way that left a lot of people disappointed, I'm not feeling a lot of motivation to follow this one. So, I don't know if I'm going to keep watching. Maybe I'll check out the next couple episodes to see if it gets more compelling or exciting or whatever. Or maybe I'll just DVR the season and binge it afterwards. I mean, either way, I don't know. I wasn't anticipating the show before, and I guess I'm still not. So, it didn't suck. It was fine. Not a bad show, not a great show. It was fine. Which, considering the amount of money they obviously poured into this thing, I'm guessing that was not the ringing endorsement HBO was looking for. All right. Anywho, let's see what you guys thought. Excuse me. Chaotic Gold Boar with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much. Please buy yourself a beverage of choice for all the suffering and entertainment you have given me in the last year or so. I've got my beverage of choice here. I've got tap water. Yeah, that's not incredibly tasty, but it is free. So the price is right. We all gotta save money where we can. Papa Bull, thank you for the super chat. Problem I had is the show has no good or honorable character, i.e. Ned Stark to care about succeeding. Every character is unlikable. Yeah, kind of. I mean, the princess seems like a more or less good person, but again, I'm not sure if the actress. I'm not sure about the chops of the actress. She seems very one note right now. I don't know what kind of range she has, but if she's going to be our main protagonist, and it looks like she is, I need to see more gravitas coming from her. I mean, Ned was only around for one season, but that dude was compelling. Sean Bean made Ned a very compelling main character. Yeah, you were happy to spend time with him, and when you weren't, there were people like Tyrion, or Daenerys, or John, or Rob. Those people were interesting too. Compare that cast of characters, to this one, and there aren't very many of them that stand out. Right now, it's just Daemon, and sure, he's a burgeoning psychopath, but he's the most charismatic person on the screen, so it's actually going to be a little hard to root for him, because at least he's an interesting person to follow. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a weakness of the show. They need a Ned Stark type character, and they don't have one right now. I agree with you on that. Green Entertainment, thank you for the $10 super chat. First off, didn't know you liked Game of Thrones. Oh yeah. I was streaming the whole final season. Those streams may have been set to private since then. I don't remember. But yeah, big GOT fan. Let's see. Would like you to discuss this series more. Second, after seeing She-Hulk, I'm worried about how they're going to do Doctor Doom and Sentry. All right. Well, I may do more streams about House of the Dragon. We'll see. I'm undecided whether I'm going to be following this show week to week. So maybe we'll stream the episodes week to week, at least for a little while, or maybe we'll do a stream where I talk about the show after the season ends. I don't know. But I'll certainly be talking more about this universe in the future. She-Hulk made you worry about Doctor Doom and Sentry. Not sure how you draw that connection there. I'm extraordinarily worried about how they're going to treat Daredevil when he shows up, because we know he's going to be on the show. Doom and Sentry, I don't know. I see no reason to be worried about them right now. I imagine Doom would be showing up in a Fantastic Four project, which is one of their bigger upcoming projects, at least until the X-Men show up. That's the biggest one on the horizon right now. So that one's going to be pretty important. And Doom is a big character. They're going to want to get him right. Sentry, I don't know what they're going to do with Sentry. I can't imagine he won't show up at some point. I don't know if it would be in his own series. But, we saw with Moon Knight how they were able to treat a mentally ill character with some level of care and respect. The whole DID thing was I thought was done quite well. And Sentry has got his own issues, not DID, but if they could do a mentally ill character in Moon Knight, quite well, I thought I'm optimistic for how Sentry might come off. She-Hulk certainly isn't encouraging about future projects, because, wow, if this is the direction they're heading in, then good lord. But, She-Hulk seems to be a bit of an outlier, because I know I've talked about this before, but the MCU does like to have their other projects be somewhat tonally consistent. Now, in Phase 4, they have been experimenting a little bit, with varying degrees of success. They tried going a little bit more mature with Eternals. Didn't really work out. They tried dipping their toe in the the horror genre with Multiverse of Madness. Not, maybe not, diving in head first, but they dipped a toe in there. And the movie wasn't perfect, but it made money. I think it outgrossed the original Doctor Strange. So there's some success to be had there. And the Disney Plus shows have kind of changed things up and gone in different directions. WandaVerse, that's not a thing. WandaVision had sort of a mystery suspense element to it. Of course, all these shows have had their own sets of problems, but they've been trying to be different. And Moon Knight was a little bit more abstract and stuff, and now we've got She-Hulk, which is a straight up comedy, and they think it's a comedy. I don't think it's a comedy. The comedies are usually funny. This was not funny, but they think it's a comedy, and I guess it's going to be like a. They say it's a lawyer show, but the writers flat out admitted that they don't know how to write lawyer stuff, so I don't know how that's going to work, but they think it's a comedy. So we have been seeing a lot of variety with the Disney Plus shows. Also, Ms. Marvel is like a teen-oriented adventure. So it seems like they are becoming more willing to experiment with different tones and whatnot. I would not expect the tone of the She-Hulk show to be the blueprint for anything else beyond that. Because they've had a fair number of misses, of hits and misses. Phase 4 has been spotty. I think we can all agree on that. Not everything has been a home run. In fact, I think they've had more misses than hits in Phase 4. But they have been more willing to experiment. But at the end of the day, Feige, I think, still has his eye on the ball. He's spread very thin right now, but when a really important project comes up, I think he's going to give that the attention it needs. And Fantastic Four is an important project for them. Like I said, until the X-Men show up, that's the biggest thing they've got. So he's going to... I think they're going to be really focused on doing Doctor Doom right. Now, I'm not saying they won't drop the ball, but I think they're going to be very careful with what they do with Doom. And Sentry, too. Do you see MKF30? Thank you for the super chat. Do you see Sandman? Yes, I did see Sandman. I've reviewed Sandman. It's one of the most recent videos I did. Go check the channel and watch that. Are you excited for Lord of the Rings and Chucky? Oh boy. Am I excited for Rings of Power? No, sir, I am not. Just about everything I've seen and heard about this makes me think it is a disaster in the making. I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy. I'm not a Tolkien guy. I've never really been a Tolkien guy. I love the Lord of the Rings movies. And I watched the Hobbit movies. I will say that. That's about it. So I appreciate the works of Tolkien. Never really read them. I tried reading The Hobbit many years ago. Couldn't really get through it. My ADD wouldn't allow for it. But I really love the original Peter Jackson trilogy. Every sign about Rings of Power is pointing to this being a total clusterfuck. You know, I guess they had like a Tolkien aficionado working for them at one point, and then they kicked that person out, and now they're like deliberately going against canon, and the cast are talking about making it like super woke or like like this character is an activist, and they're talking about making it like mirror like current year, like why? Like they're saying all the wrong things. All the wrong things. I mean, it looks like it's going to look pretty, maybe, because they spent God knows how much money on it. Like, supposedly it's like the most expensive TV show ever made or something like that, but like everything from the cast and crew to the writing on down, I have no hope for that show. None. And so I can't imagine that I won't be making some kind of videos on it, whether that's a review or a stream or something. I don't know yet, but that seems like such low-hanging fruit. I have to cover it in some way. And Chucky, wow. You know, I did a stream of the Chucky premiere from Season 1, which is up on the live streaming channel. Link in the description if you want to see that. I didn't stream the rest of the episodes. I did watch them because I've never really been a horror guy, but I do really like the first two Child's Play movies, because those movies, in my opinion, are are still legitimately creepy to this day. So I always really like those first two movies. So I got a fondness for Child's Play. Now, I don't really like what the franchise has become in recent years, but if there's a new Child's Play project, I'm probably gonna check it out. Watched the first season. I did not like it. I thought the writing was very bad. I thought the acting was largely terrible. The only the biggest bright spot they had was Fiona Dourif. And like her character just got screwed over and screwed over and screwed over to a point that it made me legitimately angry. And what they did with her, what they did to her in the season 1 finale, it pissed me off so much. And I'm like, you idiots! Why would you do that? It's gonna limit you so much when you come back to this character. You should be finding more ways to use this character, and instead they're limiting her so much with what they did. It was such a stupid idea to me. I hated it. Why are you doing that to this character when all your other characters are just giving you so little to go on? Like, these kids suck. Like, the girl, I forget their names, but I mean, the girl turned out to be, decent. I hated her character in the beginning, but she kind of redeemed herself a little bit, and I thought she was one of the better actors in there, in a cast that does not have many good actors. So she was all right. The other kids, not so much. Now Andy and Kyle are still there, I guess, but they're not really focused on. The writing I thought was very bad. I hated so many things about it. I mean, they had scenes at a hospital that looked like a fucking cartoon. Like, have these people never seen a hospital before in their lives? What are they doing here? Like, so many decisions and made, like, all the way from creative to cast to production design. I just did not like almost anything they did. That said, I'm probably going to watch season 2, maybe not week to week, but it's still a Child's Play project. I still want to root for it to get better, even though I have almost no hope that it will. Yellow Lantern with a $20 super chat. Wow, thank you very much. Very generous of you. Doom is about the only thing that keeps me interested at all in the MCU. Really? Nothing else? Well, I wouldn't go that far. I will agree that Phase 4 has not been the strongest one. That has fallen off a cliff a little bit, because they've as the MCU has expanded, they've very slowly been inching into quantity over quality territory. Because I mean, now there's just too many projects for Kevin Feige to oversee carefully. Because when he was overseeing like everything they did, like when they were doing like 1 or 2 movies a year, he was able to have his to like very he was able to he would have the chance to like be on set and look over everybody's shoulder and make sure everything turned out all right. Now they've got like 5, 6, 7 different things going on at one time. He can't do it. There's not enough hours in the day. The guy does need to sleep at some point, so he has to delegate. And put these people in charge of this thing, put those people in charge of this and that thing, and sometimes they'll hit the mark, sometimes they don't. Like I really enjoyed Moon Knight. The finale dropped the ball in some ways, yes, but for the most part, I thought Moon Knight was very good. I also really enjoyed Hawkeye. Again, finale had problems. I did not like what they did with Kingpin, but overall, I enjoyed Hawkeye. Those also Loki. Again, really interesting concepts. I like what they did. I know other people had problems with Loki. I'm not gonna start an argument there. I'll agree to disagree on that. I liked Loki a lot. I don't make excuses for the finale. I think there are interesting things about it, but it was not a good creative choice. But again, overall, I still enjoyed Loki. Then we have Ms. Marvel. We have Falcon Winter Soldier. We have She-Hulk. WandaVision, which had a super interesting concept, and had some really fascinating high points, but really got a lot of wires crossed towards the end there with, let's feel sorry for Wanda after she mentally enslaved a town and tortured all these people. Now that has, in retrospect, become easier to digest now that we know that it was basically her supervillain origin, but still, it didn't make it easier to swallow at the time. So, I guess what I'm getting at here is that, yeah, the MCU has become hit and miss as it's gotten bigger and bigger. Now, that was inevitable. Doom, as I said, is a really important character. It's going to be very important that they don't screw him up. I think Kevin Feige knows that. They wouldn't want to screw up Spider-Man. They clearly work was done into getting him right. Now maybe you're on board with the changes made to him, and maybe you're not, but I think they did a good job with Spider-Man. Even though they're sharing him with Sony. But Doom is one of their Doom is one of their heavy hitters. That's a villain, or just like a character in general, that could have a lot of mileage on it if he's done well. They screw him up, that's going to really hurt them in the future. So I think they're going to devote the necessary attention to getting him right. But I wouldn't say that he's the only reason to stay interested. I mean, sure, it's going to be a while before we see the X-Men, but I mean, there's other things to be excited about. Shang-Chi was good. It looks like Moon Knight's probably getting a season 2. That's cool. What else? I don't know what the upcoming projects are, but I mean, even if some of them don't hit the mark, I mean, there's still going to be good stuff. I think we might just have to pick and choose a little bit. Okay. What are the rest of you saying here? Which has been worse, She-Hulk or Batwoman? Ugh. Well, it's not really a fair comparison. I mean, we got 3 seasons versus 1 episode. I suppose there's a chance that She-Hulk could improve. I don't have much hope for it improving. I can't not go with Batwoman on that one. And at least She-Hulk has a budget. Batwoman was extraordinarily cheap. But yeah, I mean, She-Hulk did not have a good start. No, let's put it that way. Did you see the new Rings of Power trailer? No, I haven't seen it yet. I think it came out like a few hours ago, didn't it? Yeah. No, yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I had to do like a Zoom chat about IRL stuff. And I was also getting ready for this tonight, so haven't had a chance to see that yet. Yeah, they race swapped one of the Targaryens. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, wasn't that weird? Like all the Targaryens are these pale-faced, silver-haired people, and then there's also a black dude in there. Like, is he also a Targaryen? Like, did he marry into the family? I guess he must have. But if he married into the family, why does he also have silver hair just like them? That's weird. And then there was a little like mixed race child who also had silver hair, like dyed gray. Looked really weird, like very awkward. Like so is the black dude a Targaryen by birth or by marriage? I was curious about that too. I wasn't sure how relevant it was, but he did a lot of cool stuff in the books. Okay. Daemon isn't the villain. The villain is pretty much everyone. It's just a civil war story. Oh, okay. So it's just the family warring against itself? There's no real good guy or bad guy? Alright. I feel like a lot of people are going to be rooting for Daemon, though. He's really the only character that is worth following right now. Daemon was pretty much the only character I liked, and the only one who really had any depth. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they tried to give the princess some of that, but it just doesn't come across. I hate to say it, but I think a lot of that is the actress. I mean, she only seems to have one facial expression right now. And considering the stuff that happens to her, I feel like we should have gotten more emotion out of her. It just wasn't there. I couldn't believe I understood who everyone was by the end of the first episode. Game of Thrones took 3 seasons for me to understand who was who. Really? Well, for me it was the exact opposite. So congratulations, I guess. She-Hulk is going to be the worst MCU show by far. Probably, yeah. It certainly had the worst start. For me, Ms. Marvel has been the worst one so far, but Ms. Marvel didn't start out terribly. I mean, the first episode wasn't all that bad. I thought the first episode was like inoffensive. I think is the word I used. I mean, yeah, it fell off fast, but the first episode was all right. She-Hulk, that first episode was aggressively bad, and I don't see it improving much. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I guess I'm in for the whole season, but wow, I'm not optimistic. Did you read the Fire and Blood book? No, I didn't. I've read the first 3 Ice and Fire books. I meant to keep reading them. I bought book 4, and I haven't opened it. After the first 3, those books are hard to get through, man. I mean, they're great books, but wow, they are dense reads. And I read kind of slow anyway, because I've got ADD and partial dyslexia. So, if I'm going to read a book, it's going to take me a minute to get through it. So just one of those books would take a while. I'd read like maybe a chapter a day. Sometimes not even that. It would take a long time to get through them. After the first 3, I was like, you know what? I don't know if I can start the next one. And I'm not even sure I want to start the next one, because I mean it's not for sure if Martin will even finish the series now at this rate. So I'm don't really care about Fire and Blood. I mean, why is he writing this? Why is he writing a Targaryen history book when he hasn't even finished the damn series yet? Please finish Winds of Winter at least first. Why are you spending several years writing a Targaryen history book when Winds of Winter has been due for like 10 years, and then we still got a Dream of Spring after that? Keep your eye on the ball, please, George. Ms. Marvel was aimed at tween girls. I wouldn't get huffy over it. Oh, I would. I don't buy that as an excuse. Like, being aimed at a specific demographic doesn't mean that it can't be well made. It's not an excuse to be a bad show. I could name any number of shows off the top of my head that were made, quote-unquote, for kids, but were still great shows. So if it's made for tween girls, fine. Make it to appeal to those people. Doesn't mean it has to exclude anybody else. Doesn't mean doesn't mean you have an excuse to write it like garbage. Doesn't mean you have an excuse to write bad characters. With Matt Reeves signing on for the Batman 2, who would you like to see as the villain of that movie? I don't know. I think the Court of Owls would be pretty cool. We haven't seen them in a movie yet. Someone who hasn't been in a movie before, I think, would be cool. Or maybe someone we haven't seen in a movie in a while. I don't know. Court of Owls, I think, would probably I would probably get my vote. Uh... I watched for about 50 minutes and nothing sucked me in at all. Don't care about this world anymore. I know where it all ends. I know, right? I mean, that's kind of where I am. I was like, we know how all this stuff shakes out in the end, and now you're trying to draw all these comparisons and all this connective tissue and get us hyped for all that stuff that we know ended in really disappointing fashion. Why? I would think a better idea would be to kind of let House of the Dragon be its own thing and not try to connect to all that. That would seem like the wiser course of action if you're asking me. What did you think of the 10 million viewers for the premiere of House of the Dragon? No, it didn't surprise me. I mean, I figured it was going to have a big premiere. I mean, Game of Thrones is still a hugely popular property, even though, Season 8, was what it was. I mean, there was no way it was not going to have a huge premiere. Now, the question is whether that audience sticks around. Because, for my money, this show does not seem to be as compelling as Game of Thrones was. So we'll see what the size of the audience is at the end of the season. I mean, if I had to guess, I would say the audience will probably shrink somewhat. I don't see this show being the same cultural phenomenon that Game of Thrones was, but we'll see. Who knows? Like I said, it's not a bad show yet. I can't speak for the source material, having not read Fire and Blood, but I assume it's at least good. So I don't think this will be a bad show. I don't know if it'll be a great show either, though. So we'll see. Sorry, I'm just seeing what they're. I'm just kind of scrolling. Did they introduce the black guy in House of the Dragons yet? Sort of. He was there. He had a few lines. I'm still not sure what his relevance is. I guess he's the husband of like the older princess. I guess in the prologue. When the king had to choose a new successor, he had to choose between his oldest daughter, who I think is now the wife of that dude. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. So he is the husband of the princess who was not chosen to sit on the Iron Throne. Yeah. So I think that's right. So I don't know if he has a name yet. But I guess he's important or will become important later. Not sure. You guys would know better than I do on that one. It's so weird without Amelia Clark and Kit Harington and everyone else, but it's great. All right. Yeah, I agree. It does feel strange. I mean, there's no getting around that the Game of Thrones cast was a lot more memorable than this one. I think part of the problem is there's a lot of characters, and I personally don't know which one of them, like, who is important and who isn't. And also it's taking it seems to be taking a longer time to set everything up and get the story moving. So we have fewer characters standing out. I mean, because right out of the gate in Game of Thrones, you knew, okay, this guy's going to be important. That guy's going to be important. You know, that girl is going to do something really big, or those two are up to something really interesting. And here it's just people, a lot of people sitting around a table and talking. I don't know who half these people are. I don't know most of their names yet. Who is person A's relation to person B? I don't know any of these things. I mean, hopefully in like the coming episodes, these characters will start to distinguish themselves. Because, I mean, I don't want to write it off after like one episode, but I don't know. The characters are not standing out as quickly as they did on Game of Thrones, that's for sure. Thoughts on Dota Dragon's Blood? Yeah, and I never commented on Season 3, did I? Season 3 was... Dota Dragon's Blood Season 3 was very strange. It's like they went off on this weird, like, hard right turn into, I don't know, some kind of parallel universe situation, which I couldn't tell you why they'd done it. Like, I wouldn't say they abandoned the narrative that they'd been building for the first two seasons, but it's just suddenly it just went in this very strange new direction. I guess there was some foreshadowing for it, but I don't know. I know it just seemed very very hastily done and very rushed, and I'm not sure why any of it was happening. And I guess for the most of the season, we're following like alternate versions of these characters, like from another timeline or another universe or something. I don't know what. It was very weird. I would have preferred we just stay in the original timeline. No, I don't know if this is taking something from the game or what, but I mean that's kind of a problem I've always had with the show, is that I feel like I was missing I've always felt like I was missing a lot of context from having not played the game. But I stuck with it because the characters were fun and the animation was great, and I liked the world. I just didn't always know what the hell was going on. I don't know, maybe that was an issue of the storytelling, but yeah, probably not my favorite season. I enjoyed aspects of it, but I don't know. The storytelling just went in a really weird direction in Season 3. Very weird. See, I like it so far, but they introduced a lot of characters very quickly without much backstory. This is true. This is true. I think Matt Smith did good so far. Wasn't a fan of the casting for his character until I watched the episode. He did good. But yeah, I mean, so far Matt Smith is the best thing on it. So I mean, good for Matt Smith, I guess. But the other actors really need to step their game up, because it's not, maybe not great when the most quote-unquote villainous character on the show is the only one the audience really wants to spend time with. That seems to be the consensus, though, that everyone thinks Matt Smith is the best one there. Though I don't think he's the one we're meant to root for, so that's not good. Okay, again, insisting I have to watch Clone Wars Season 7, Episodes 9 through 12. Guys, I will get to Clone Wars Season 7 at some point. I know, I keep saying that, I'm sorry. Look, the sequel trilogy broke me, alright? I haven't really watched much of any Star Wars content since then. I did watch parts of the final episode of Kenobi. I watched, the Vader versus Obi-Wan fight. I watched that. And so, I don't know, like the last 20 minutes of the last episode, that's it. I haven't seen really anything else. And I haven't had much of a desire to. I need more time. The sequel trilogy broke something in me. I'm not sure if it's easily fixed. I will finish Clone Wars at some point. Are you gonna watch the Jon Snow spin-off? I'll give it a shot. I think that show at least makes a little more sense to me, because, you know, Jon living among the wildlings out in the north, there's stuff you can do with that. Maybe you got a lot of different warring wildling tribes, and maybe he, maybe he becomes the new king beyond the wall. Who knows? I mean, there's stuff you can do with that situation. At least that it feels like we're forging ahead into new territory rather than going back over old stuff that is building up to something that we know is ultimately going to be a disappointment. So could be good. I would prefer that Martin just focus on finishing the books, but you know, we all know how that plays out. Alright. Excuse me. Oh, it's all Maul and it's so good. Watch it. Okay, cool. Don't you want to see Maul's grand plan to kill Vader? Maybe, but whatever the plan was, it failed. Alright. Let's see. What else have we got here? Alright, maybe we'll go for another little bit, but we're at the bottom of the chat room here, so if nobody has any other burning questions, we can think about wrapping it up. Did you watch Better Call Saul? No, I didn't. I watched Breaking Bad, and Breaking Bad was a fantastic show, though admittedly not the kind of thing I'd usually watch. I watched it because I ended up like binging the entire series of Breaking Bad, like either right before or right after the finale, because just around that time, like you couldn't not hear about it. Like everyone was talking about Breaking Bad, and I'd never seen the show up to that point because it wasn't my thing, not the kind of thing I'd usually watch. But I was just hearing so much about it that I finally I just had to check it out. So I watched the whole series front to back, and yeah, it's great. But after I was done, I kind of had my fill. I didn't really feel the need to watch any spin-offs. Not that it was not that I thought it was bad. Again, it's not the kind of thing I'm into. I heard Better Call Saul was a great show. I'm sure it was. It's just different strokes for different folks, I guess. Jason Sandhu asked like 6 questions, none were answered. I'm sorry. Let's see. Have you seen The Last Kingdom, and if so, are you looking forward to the movie? No, and I didn't know there was a movie. Let's see. See anything else in here? All right. No. Well, you got one question answered anyway. Amelia was asked if she would come back as Daenerys, and she said no, but I still have hope that she's keeping it a secret or they convince her to return. Well, I mean, dead characters don't typically come back to life in Game of Thrones. No, that's not something that typically happens. One or two of them get lucky, but I don't know. I think Daenerys' story has been told. Many people didn't like the way it ended, but the story is over now. I don't really see much point in bringing her back. Corlys Valerian, that's that guy. Okay. Transformers War for Cybertron? Yeah. I saw the first one. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan. I don't know. The story felt a little bit too bleak for me personally. I wasn't really a big fan of the character designs, and how they moved. Like they moved kind of slowly, and I don't know, the animation style didn't allow for a lot of movement. They all seemed like kind of blocky and didn't. They didn't move around well. Like I'm comparing it to Transformers Prime, which is my favorite Transformers project ever. Like all the Transformers were really mobile and fast, and they were, action scenes were really fun and dynamic and exciting. Here, there wasn't a lot of stuff like that. It's like they're just like kind of standing around and shooting at each other, and they don't move very fast. And I don't know. I watched the first one. Didn't really care too much about the rest of it. I think they did like Beast Wars in Season 3 or something. I don't know. Just wasn't my thing. Transformers Prime was so good, wasn't it? Alright. Seems like a decent place to stop. Excuse me. To stop, I guess. Yeah, thanks for tuning in for this discussion of House of the Dragon Episode 1. I don't know if we'll be doing any more of these. I'm not even sure if I'll be watching the next episode. I might watch the next... I might keep watching for a little bit just to see if it gets more interesting. Right now, I don't know. I'm just kind of nonplussed about the whole thing. I think my general reactions are kind of meh. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. Wasn't great, wasn't terrible. It's just fine. I needed something more than fine to really reignite my excitement after Game of Thrones Season 8. But, we'll see. Maybe I'll watch the next episodes and we'll still stream those, or maybe I'll just binge the whole season after it's over. I don't know yet. In the meantime, oh my god, we got She-Hulk Episode 2 coming up, don't we? Oh boy. Yeah. I think that'll about do it. As usual, this stream will be set to private once it's over, and then it'll be moved to the live streaming channel. I'll probably do that tomorrow. So if you want to go back and listen to this stream again for whatever reason, you can listen to it on the live streaming channel. Link in the description. Go subscribe to that if you haven't already. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. I'm sorry YouTube won't allow me to schedule these things in advance, so I always appreciate it when you guys find me. Thank you to our super chatters. Chaotic Old Boar, thank you very much. Papa Bull, Green Entertainment, thank you. MKF30, thank you. Yellow Lantern with $20, thank you very much. Thank you to everybody in the chat room. Damn. Sorry, my voice is dying out. Thanks to everybody in the chat room. Thanks for talking to me for a while. I will see you guys again very soon. In the meantime, go subscribe to the live streaming channel, and have a good night. Talk to you soon.